Okay, well, welcome everybody. I just want to remind everybody on the call that we have partners on the call, so it's not just internal Deltek. So today we're going to talk about the latest release of PM Compass, which is PM Compass 8.3. It is due for on-time delivery at the end of January. We're doing the preparatory activities like training to get people ready for that release. The code, for those of you who have environments that need to be stood up, you have the code is ready, and we're working to support those installations as we speak. 8.2 was a fairly large, complex release centered around the integrated BCR, but one of the bits of functionality that we could not fit in that time frame was to support fully resource loaded schedules, right? And we have clients who do resource load, or those like Lockheed Martin who are considering resource loading. And so we needed to complete that work and support a major client already. This is a required work for them, and also will expose us to other market opportunities for clients who resource load and maybe had not considered PM Compass because of that limitation. So this rounds out our change management solution for both resource loaded and non-resource loaded schedules. And again, what's going to be the big value here, and always will kind of be with PM Compass, is the unique solution that we offer to the marketplace in terms of our integrations, right? We own the products that we're talking about here, so that we can build in very deep integrations to do the kinds of things that other people can't do because they don't own the source code and we don't have the kind of API exposure like other products might. So a quick look here at just the list of the features that are coming with this release. The big one there is the view and edit time phase resource loaded schedules, right? So today you can, and we'll see all this in a demo here in a second. I'm just going to give you these slides as a leave behind so you have a reference material. So we'll be able to go in and edit time phase resources, write and change details. Support our resource loaded schedule as a replacement, right? So this is the what they call no math, right? Where if you try to, that's just one example, trying to draw down a work package, historically in PM Compass, you would have to put in a corresponding negative value to draw down. Now you'll be able to put in just new values, and they'll be able to take those across. You have to select that. It's an option. In fact, it's required for a lot of this work that we're going to be showing you today to use the replacement amount. And then we have Ruth Ann and Mike on the call as well to answer any questions in terms of how exactly that works and how you're going to need to consider that. This new set of features continues our integration with OpenPlan. You'll be able to delete activities and resource assignments. And even at the work package level with resources assignments, you'll be able to delete activities pretty easily. We'll see, again, we're going to see all this in some screens and then some demo here in a second. This is also introducing support for open plan steps, right? So if you're putting quantifiable backup data on your activities, is there a question? I'm sorry. So if you're using QBDs and open plan through their steps, you'll be able now to add, edit, and delete here right from the PM Compass interface. Then our last thing is, we do mention it because there's a fair amount of lift involved in updating it, but the BCR analysis report has been updated to support this release. We're always going to keep, when we're talking about change, we're going to always end with that BCR analysis report, and I'll do so again today with my screens and my demo, because that is the key new artifact that the change management solution introduced with 8.2, and we need you and our clients to get comfortable with it so that those of you working with clients can condition the report to make it the most effective possible for those clients. But it is a lot, right? So it contains quite a bit of information. And so in and of itself, it can be overwhelming. We've heard the word intimidating from test users, and we've worked with them to try to help them understand what it offers and how to use it. So again, that's been updated with this release to support everything that we're doing here. Just another, just a little couple detail slides. Again, I did these with the intent of leaving them for you to have for reference as you start using your system, you start looking at the release notes, you start playing in your environments. But view and editing time phase resource loaded schedules. You'll see there we're in change details. We've highlighted a box over the time phase periods under the resources tab, and they're going to be editable. I put in a little picture of the change log showing some edits that I had made inside there. We're going to go over this, like I said, in real time here in a second, but you got to use that replacement work type configuration setting, and you can edit the total and use the spread curve, which you can actually do today in PM Compass, or you can actually edit the individual time phase periods and have the total update. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. We talked about deleting activities. So again, we're using that replacement amount. On the resources tab itself down here, we've got a delete button. We can go in and delete those resources. And then at the work package level with linked activities, you can actually go in and, and delete right from that level as well. Here's our open plan steps, adding, editing, and deleting. And so we're on the steps tab here in open plan and PM Compass, which is reading directly from the open plan sandbox if we're modeling here. And you can see I've got some changes that I made there, and we're going to do that right now in the software. Lastly, again, I hammered it. I'm going to hammer it all the time. BCR analysis report. It's your best resource to capture all details for your change request. There is no better way to find it. You can use the change log. You can look at log files. You can look at other reports, but this report was intended to really easily review detailed changes before what was approved in what was before in your source system, what was in Cobra, what was in open plan specifically before the change request. As the change request was modeled and reviewed and approved, what got approved in that change request, and then ultimately what ended up in Cobra and open plan after. And if there are any discrepancies when what was approved in your change request and what ended up in your source tools, they are highlighted for traceability to go back to the root cause. So any questions on just the scope of the release? I'm going to switch over to the application now, but unless we have any questions. Okay, you can interrupt me at any time. And as I said, we have Mike Bolton and Ruth Ann Schulte on the call as well to pretty much answer any question that I can't. And Mike and Ruth Ann, here's your chance to correct anything I've said so far.
Well, I'll say one thing.
Go ahead, Ruth Ann. I knew you wanted to.
There was a slide that made it sound like you could only edit resource assignments time phased on activities if you use the replacement. And you can when you're on the activity level on the resource tab, it always shows up time phase, but you can only edit existing ones if it's a replacement option.
Yeah.
Was that what you were going to say, Mike, or did you have a different one?
No, that was pretty much it. I mean,
oh, you saw the same thing. Okay, it was just the way the slide was worded, I think, more than anything.
All right. All right. Well, let's get into it and let's start taking a look. For beginning, I just want to show you we're in open plan. We're not in the modeling session. I've just opened up a project in open plan. I want to show you a couple things real quick before we get into the demo. With the new release, we have updated our sample data and we have shipped a new default view in open plan, which includes the PM Compass columns that are key for mapping your modeling back to, between the open plan and PM Compass. So, those of you familiar with this PMC change number, as you start to model a change and you save it, it's going to go in and load in that PMC change number there. And then you have some opportunity whether to update the baseline dates with it or not, those type of things. Just making these columns easier for you to use, especially when you're demonstrating this functionality, or even when, obviously when the clients are using it, they'll take advantage of it. So we're going to look here before we do anything in our open plan project. We're looking at this activity here, right? And we just want to quickly show you, we've got a couple of resources in here, looking at a time phase view, but we've got a couple of existing resources in this activity. And then we've got a couple existing steps, step 1 and step 2. Pretty simple stuff, right? So there it is. So we're going to play around in this 112 activity. We're inside PM Compass. So we're going to go over here to PM Compass and we're going to go to our model changes. Since we have our project open, PM Compass, says, hey, there's no workflows for this project. I want to point out that we've set up for our demo a schedule change request workflow type that uses that replacement amount so that we can do what we want to do here today. But we're going to start a new workflow. And we're going to call this demo 1. Here's our project, and we're going to pick our control account and go into change details. So here we are in our change detail screen. All this stuff should be familiar with everybody. So we're going to go in and we start opening up our hierarchy, and we see here's the activity that we were going to talk about, what we want to play with, right? So we're going to go in here to our resources tab. And now this is the first thing that I wanted to show you. We saw those resources over there. Now in PM Compass, these individual time phase periods are editable. So let's go in and let's start doing some edits to resources here with this new functionality. So like I said, one of the first things I told you we do today, and you can continue to do, you can edit at the total level. So we've got 100 here now. Let's edit the total. And if I do that, it goes in, it does the respread. You can see it updates my total and it assigns a change number to that existing resource. If I want to go in here and let's insert a new resource. So let's go in and pick a new resource. Let's just pick the first one here. Let's pick some hours, do 100 hours. And now we've added a resource again. So in our change request so far, we have edited the total of an existing resource and we have added a new resource. Well, let's go in. I said you can edit time phase periods now. So let's change this 183.06 to 200 and edit an individual period. And you can see that my total has updated. So what we've got right now is we've got an edit to an existing. We've got a edit to an existing time phase. This was total. This was time phase. This was an addition. If we go ahead and we save these proposed changes, and we look at our scheduled change log, we should see all of that activity. So there's that new resource that we added. Old value was 0. We added in a new value. The new hours that I put in there. This was the one I edited at the total level. It's been updated, this resource, and this was the one that I updated on an individual time period. And we have the flag set in our settings to automatically update the PMC update baseline. So we've captured our changes for this. So if we save it here and there's no changes to save, let's go to our list view and model changes. This is our one. Let's load it now into OpenPlan. So now we're gone. We've modeled some things in PM Compass, and actually we don't even have to mark it active. We can go in and we've loaded it into our OpenPlan modeling session. And what's different from what we were just looking at before? Well, the first thing we see here is we have a change number has been affixed to this row because we've just modeled some changes, and that flag here, PMC update dates, has been thrown. If we look in here now, remember we looked at these resources before. Well, now we look at our resources and they've been updated, right? They've been updated with those changes that we just made. Again, this is just the sandbox right now. This isn't this hasn't been pushed through to the OpenPlan project yet. If I go back to my form view, oh, wait a minute. Within, can I get back to my form view right here to go in and edit steps, or do I need a new workflow now at that point? I want to get back to my form view.
You can't get to change details. You would just mark it active and edit in the schedule.
So that's what I could just edit that. And that's what, if we just do that, we're already loaded in and we mark it active. I could then go up here, and this goes both ways, right? So if I go in and add steps here, if I go in and modify the step weight, for example, we'll make this 0.5. We can go in and apply that close. If I go back to PM Compass and I look in my form view, I can't. How am I going to see that, Ruth Ann?
No, you can't get to the form.
Yeah, you have to approve it and then look at it as the
Yeah.
CAM.
I'm going to have to look at it as the next step in the workflow. Well, let's just do another workflow because I want to show, we showed you how those changes to the resources went through. Now let's go through on that same activity, and we'll go ahead and we'll save those changes in that workflow. We'll close it. We'll have to open up our project again. That's not a big deal. We'll do that. And now can I go in, Ruth? I can, right?
Yes.
I can go in and get the change details again now because I've reloaded. Okay, so there I go. So we just did all this with the resources. Now let's edit some steps. So if we go to our steps tab, I can see there's, by the way, we just changed that step weight, and so it just read it when we modeled the modeling session. It read open plan and said, okay, here's your steps. But let's go in and let's start making some step changes too. So, oops, let's get my cursor in there. Step 3, and then let's further edit the step weight. And how about we go ahead and we'll actually delete this step. So if I save that and I look at my change log, I'm looking at my change log. So we haven't processed this change. I did save the changes from before. So you still see all those resource changes are still sitting in this workflow. But now I've added in these step changes, right? I deleted a step, I added a new step, and I updated the step weight of another one. So as you save, no changes, we're good. Get to our list. And if I load in my changes again, going over to open plan, whoop, let's wait till it loads. We'll go over to open plan and we're looking in our activity. And if I go over to steps now, you can see that step 1 has been deleted, step 3 has been added, and the new step weight for step 2 has been recorded. So I want to mention something real quick here, exactly what is happening here. This change log, what this change log is in effect a recorder, right? There's been some confusion with some of our customers who want to look at, okay, all the effects of their changes, and they want to see it all in this change log. It's really not what this change log is for, right? This change log is really recording the manual changes that you have made. I edited the value, I added, I deleted. It's recording that, and it literally runs it back on completion. But it doesn't capture all the effects of all those changes. That's more appropriately, as we talked about in our BCR analysis report. So I'm going to go quickly here now and go over and just show you. Here's one that we've run already. And before I expand it, I just want to kind of go across and make sure, everybody understands this report. So you can generate this report against, any project, a specific change number, whatever. This happens to be against one change. You could do it for a period. You have all sorts of ways to condition it. And then you have the key fields to identify the work that you're working on. But here are the key pieces right here, right? I'm trying to make this not so small, but before your change request, what was your starting position in COBRA for this particular bit of work that you're specifying, and if it applies in open plan? And then what was approved? So let's go, I guess we better start showing some data. What was approved inside your change request, and then what went in after the change request process. And as I said, if there was a discrepancy, if this value was different than this value, this would be red and would be highlighted, and you could use actually this link to go right into the details of the change, or go right into the cost details, which is a separate tab right here, where you'd be able to locate that more specifically. So I'm looking at my script. Ruth Ann, Mike, what have we not touched upon? We've edited resources time phase. We've edited open plan steps. We've used our replacement values. What do we want to do now? Anything else? Have you seen the BCR analysis report?
No, that looks good. I mean, the one thing I would probably add is a little bit of how is it calculating the time phase data. And you'll want to, in COBRA, export the calendar to open plan. And if you've done that prior to a current version of COBRA, you'll want to do it again, because the export to open plan was missing the time of day. And the most current CU release of Cobra is adding that time of day automatically for you. And then in open plan and project properties on the cost tab, you'll want to select that calendar that you exported from Cobra to open plan. And that's how it's breaking up the periods so that when you're looking at January, February, March, you're going to see the same numbers in open plan in the modeling session. And then when you complete the workflow, how it ends up in Cobra.
Any questions on what I showed, what Ruth Ann just talked about, or Mike, if you have any comments you want to add?
Not really. What about deleting? I mean, I suppose deleting work packages with resource assignments is.
Oh, we could show it. Do we want to show it?
Oh, I don't. Do we need to show it or just mention it? I mean, that's something that is new, I think, isn't it?
Right.
Well, we deleted the resources from the resources tab, but if you'd like, I can go in and we can do another one. Why not?
So first of all, you have to have a replacement workflow type. Did you show where you set the setting?
Yeah, let's do that
type?
as part of this one, Ruth Ann. Let's do that right now. All right, so we'll go down to our workflow type configuration, and we're going to use that scheduled change request type. And here's what Ruth Ann's talking about right here.
So you can't delete an activity that has resource assignments unless you have that option turned on. So if you're using that, then you're going to be able to delete. And you can delete, like Jack showed you, an actual resource assignment. You can delete a whole activity with resource assignments. And you can delete a work package from within change details or within the cost actions dialog.
Question from the
Go ahead.
gallery. So if you select that, I understand you delete, but can you add and change?
Can you add what?
Yes, we've always been able to add.
Yeah.
So my question is, why do we have a separate selection? Why don't we just have all the functionality as opposed to them making, like, what's the difference of selecting that and not selecting that?
Why do we have a selection for new or changed amount and replacement?
Yeah, why is there two different selections if we're going? I don't understand why we have to have a user go in and make a selection.
Well, first of all, I think Mike asked, did you mean, why do we have two different types of new or change amount and a replacement? Okay, so we have two different types because if you want to use new or change amount and you want only the new amount. So let's say I had a resource ABC on there and I added 20 hours to that resource as part of this change request, and it uses a different set of rates than the original one. The only way to implement that is a new or change amount. So that's why we have two different options. So why don't we support delete with new or change amount? It has a lot to do with the way that we implemented it using Cobra's delete functionality. So, and it has to be a replacement. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace the entire work package, because if you have, let's say you have 3 activities linked to one work package, and all 3 activities have that same resource ABC on it, and you delete one of the activities, how do you know how much of that resource out of that original work package is deleted? The only way to do that is to use a replacement. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to wipe out the whole work package and add back in what is in the schedule.
Okay.
Sure. Any other questions on that or any other topic? And this is what the release is. It's not nearly as big as 8.2, obviously. I will just give you this audience can have a little look ahead. Again, this is proprietary information. Don't go telling people it's a done deal because we're still working through things, but a lot of the focus on our next release is going to be on usability surrounding some of the stuff. One of specifically is the ability to have access to the BCR analysis report right from this screen and from change details, because today you have to go down and actually run it and select. It's basically a series of 4 clicks at least to run it, and then it gets emailed to you, and then you have to go get it and open it. And so we're giving direct access to that, filtered to the BCR on the screen for the purposes that we were just talking about. So that's coming in 8.4. So we're getting good feedback from users at a couple different sites on the product, on 8.2. And so we're trying to incorporate that as soon as possible. Well, I don't have any more demonstration content. I'm happy to go over something else again if need be. I'm happy to answer any questions. And like I said, we have Ruth Ann and Mike. Are there any other questions today from anybody? As I said, engineering has released the code to the individual areas to load into their environments. If you have any issues with installation or any of the usage, you can go ahead and give me a call. And we've begun working, I know, with at least one team on helping them prepare for demonstrations of the software.
So, Jack, just a quick clarification here. You were showing adding or changing steps. Is that just open plan right now? Or is this that, we didn't see it actually go back into Cobra. Does that actually update steps in Cobra now?
The open plan steps.
Okay,
It's
so that's
supporting open plan steps, correct?
okay. Just checking on that. I
Yeah,
was
and
hoping
Cobra
for the
has
other.
not. Cobra
I
has
knew it
not
doesn't-
had. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You do yours.
No, I knew it didn't do it prior to, so I just wanted to make sure that I was hoping.
Well, just to be clear, okay, the integration wizard will not load open plan steps into Cobra milestones /steps. You can use PM Compass to add steps to Cobra, but not add them to the activity and then use Cobra's integration to create steps into Cobra. That's a Cobra feature that you can talk to Dan about.
And also, Ruth Ann, we had talked about it just as a point of clarification that these changes are only going against as planned activities in open plan, not against in process.
That's a good point. Correct.
Progress.
Yes, for 8.3, that is correct. We're working on the in progress bit, but this release is driven by client demand, client need. And so that was, we're going to have to continue work to get for in progress activities there. That's coming, I guess, is the short answer. Any other questions? Any other comments? All right. Well, you know how to get a hold of me. If you need anything, Neil, thank you. Can you please make the recording available? Let me know where it is and I can tell Courtney or just tell Courtney. And again, those of you who are busy installing this and starting to play with it, reach out to me or Ruth Ann or Mike with any questions to make sure you don't hit any roadblocks.
Yeah. There was one thing, probably a bit late in the day, Jack. There was one thing. Did we?
You don't wait until I say goodbye, Mike, and then you do it.
Is it worth talking about? Do you think the difference in terms of if you make changes in change details, for instance, by editing individual periods, you switch between something that is time phased in terms of just having a curve on it when you first add it to something that's got a whole bunch of offsets and periods? Or is that?
So the way that the thing that I would think would be important to open plan users is if you are in change details and you add a resource assignment, if you just enter a total amount and say spread linear or spread bell, and you do not edit the time phase data, when that assignment gets added to open plan, it's a single row with that resource ID and the total amount, just exactly like it is when you do it in open plan. We don't start creating all these offsets and periods unless you go in and start editing the time phase periods in addition to editing the total, or instead of editing the total. Does that make sense? And the benefit of that is if you start editing the time phase data for every single resource assignment, you're making your schedule larger because you're adding, especially if your activities are really long, because you're adding multiple resource assignments. Oh, that was a perfect example. Go back to that one. So the very bottom one, that 100, it was added as a bell-shaped curve. It even isn't just linear, but it's a bell curve. And it does not have any offsets and periods. But when you look at it in the time phase view, you can see it's making that curve for you over the multiple periods. You can see the 26 is, oh, it must be a backloaded curve, not a bell, I guess.
Oh, no,
N
it's 625, 26, 67.5, based on the number of days. So it is a bell-shaped curve. But it's,
okay.
but if you
Go
were
back to
edit
normal.
some of the values, it would turn into.
It's not bell shaped, because bell shaped means that in the middle there'll be more. And
Yeah,
there's
click on
definitely
B.
less
I
in
think
the
it's going to say backloaded. If you'll click on the, yeah, click on that and look in the
I see
top.
what it is. It might be backlogged. Yeah, it might be.
I think it's backloaded because the last number was twice as high as the middle. But you can see on the record above, it's the same resource ID. It's in there 3 times. It has offsets and periods. And that was done by editing the time phased area, either in the time phase view in open plan or in PM Compass. They work the same way.
So if Jack was to edit that middle period now.
He seems to be in a modeling session because he's not
Yeah.
able to edit anything.
I'm not able to edit it here.
Okay.
So you need to get out of that and get back in.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, I guess we've made the point. So.
Yeah.
I'm not saying goodbye anymore, Mike, until you're done.
I'm done.
Are there
Until
any
you
other
say goodbye.
questions, any other topics about 8.3 that we can help you with today? All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for their time. And as I said, reach out to me with any comments, questions, or concerns or support needed to make 8.3 successful. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.